All right. I'm coming at you guys today with a quick life update for those of you that care to tune in. Essentially, the wife, puppy, and I have moved to London, so I'm going to just quickly talk about what that means for ZenMaid and what it kind of means for us. This is just something that is going on and is impacting things behind the scenes that I feel like if I just showed up every week and just talked about how the business was going, it would be ignoring a large shift in my life that I think actually makes a big impact to the business. And then I think if you're another entrepreneur listening to this, you know, the business really exists to serve your life. And so big changes like this, they're really important. And I think a lot of people almost like sweep them under the rug as almost like a separate thing. But I think that the further you go in this journey, that life and business, all time is created equally. So not used equal, but definitely created equal. So cool. So essentially, for those of you that are not in the know, I have been living in the UK for about 2.5 years now. Unfortunately, I broke my ankle pretty badly about 8 days after moving. So first year of that wasn't like all that much fun. But essentially, we have moved up to London for a variety of reasons. This is quite amusing to many of friends because literally I had friends that came down and visited me and Fran in Brighton, and I presented them a full PowerPoint on why they should move to Brighton. So in my defense, in our defense, I still think there's a very good chance that we are going to move back down to Brighton or to Hove. But for now, we have signed an 18-month lease up here in London. That is because my wife, Fran, is now a professional artist after recently selling multiple of her pieces. And she is up here for art school, essentially. She has the opportunity to really accelerate herself as an artist, career-wise, and, you know, who she is as a person. And, you know, one of the great things about running ZenMaid and living, you know, the life that I do is being able to work from anywhere. And so essentially her situation changed. She felt like there was more opportunity for her up here in London. And so we agreed together to come up. We are going to be up here for at least 18 months, maybe not at least, but we've signed a lease for 18 months. We intend to be here for 18 months and then make a decision from there. So that's kind of the big reason, like why and what ultimately pushed us to really like seriously consider this and everything. My big consideration, my big concern was I find that in London, with it being one of the richest cities in the world, is there's a bit of a hedonistic treadmill that you kind of come here and it's never enough, right? London is one of the only places in the world that makes me feel distinctly poor, right? Which isn't strictly true, even in London, right? But it seems there's always more to be aspiring to and everything. Now, on the positive side of that is London absolutely makes me want to be the best version of myself as like the CEO of ZenMaid. Personally, that I want to be in the best shape. I want to be the most active socially. I want to make the most money, do all the things, all of that. That's really great. Definitely makes me strive to essentially be more. That was definitely really nice in my 20s and everything, but being down in Brighton and Hove, it's more that I felt like I was enough already, where I wake up every day down there and, you know, we have Lola who's sleeping on the couch right now, that, you know, it just felt like we could wake up there like every day for the next 50 years and be happy, where I don't know if I feel the same way about London. So anyways, that's a bit of a brain dump on some of the stuff that was like being considered. And so I think when we decided that it was going to essentially be we'll try it out for 18 months, it's not a permanent thing and there's a decent chance that we'll head back down, then it became okay, cool, let's do this. So in terms of like how this is going to impact things, so the first thing is coming to London, even though I've lived in Brighton for the past 2.5 years, I already have way more friends in London than I do in Brighton, and specifically great entrepreneur friends. So, Noel Andrews from JobRack, there's John Ainsworth from Data Driven Marketing, a ton of SaaS founders. Charlie Ward was just over the weekend and stuff. There's so many amazing entrepreneurs. I don't know if I published the episode with the MicroConf London recap, but I was at MicroConf London a couple of weeks ago, and that was just amazing as well. And so there's so many talented founders. I think someone was actually saying that London is the number 3 city, I think, in the world for tech and SaaS companies, which makes a lot of sense when you just kind of look at the concentrations and stuff. And so from a networking perspective, I have 2 primary groups that I'm a part of, the Dynamite Circle and Hampton by Sam Parr. Dynamite Circle is by the guys from the Tropical MBA. That's Dan Andrews and Ian Schoen. And yeah, so I'm part of those. They both have very strong London communities, and I've already plugged into those. And, we literally moved in, 9 days ago, 10 days ago. And in the next month, I just have, event after event planned with other entrepreneurs. And what I like is that these are all entrepreneurs that have a nice lifestyle that I certainly aspire to, but they're also pushing to actually build businesses and everything. So it's a really nice mix. And I find everyone that I know that's in my network in London to just be quite inspiring or motivating in their own ways, and in many ways, in most cases and everything. So yeah. So for that, I think that's quite good. I made just a note to talk about health, wealth, and relationships. And so I think that kind of touches on at least work relationships and everything. Time with the wife is going to be a little bit more sporadic, because she's going to be quite busy and essentially a full-time student and artist and everything. But that'll be okay. I think it's really about who she's going to become in the next year, and so it's really great to see her busy again and everything. And then, as I mentioned before, I have Lola, our golden retriever, who's asleep on the couch right now while I am recording this, and we are staying near Primrose Hill in London, and so taking her there on almost a daily basis, and so that I think is going to be lovely. On the wealth side, I mentioned that just being in London, I think, is going to push me to probably work a little bit harder, to probably try to be a little bit more efficient with ZenMaid, and make sure that we're a little bit more successful. I do think in Brighton it sometimes felt cool, we can just not necessarily coast. I don't think that's ever the attitude within the company, but definitely it was more of just we can take our time a little bit and everything. I still feel that way, but there's that little bit of added urgency. I'm pretty good. I've talked a little bit about mindset stuff on here, but I'm going to share about that more. But I'm pretty good about not being in a rush with things. London certainly makes me think about, it'd be nice to be making XYZ amount in 6 to 12 months, where most of the time around the world, I'm just kind of I'll see where I'm at, income wise at that point. So anyways, final thing before like wrapping up here, and yeah, is more getting into like kind of like the personal stuff, like less ZenMaid. So if you're one of my business friends, you can tune out or whatever. But just on like on the health side, that I've obviously had quite the health journey for the past couple of years. I've got a couple things that I plan on talking about here on the podcast, including, I think I mentioned on a couple of other episodes of how breaking my leg could possibly be the best thing that's ever happened to me health-wise. And, for those of you that haven't heard details on that, I won't get into anything gruesome, but I did break my ankle in 3 places and dislocate it. And even today, 2.5 years on from the injury, I still can't jog, run, like walking, it gets sore quite quickly. So it's been quite the ordeal. And then I also had a brain tumor that popped up in late January, February of this year. So that I'm going to be fine. I'm just on medication for that. But yeah, it's been a bit of a couple of years of health stuff, but I'm really looking forward to to time in London, that we've only been here, like I said, for maybe 9 days now or something. I've already lost a couple of pounds, that I've just been walking a lot more and just been in better habits. We've signed up for a very fancy gym here in London that wasn't really able to find the same thing that I was like looking for when I was like down in Brighton. So that feels very much like a treat. And then there's a couple of interesting things that I think are going to help us a lot on the health side. So I mentioned the gym that's Third Space that I've signed up for. A bunch of locations around London. You feel quite like pampered there. It certainly makes you want to go to the gym just for the experience. But I think actually the bigger thing that's going to make a bigger impact is, I mentioned that we're near Primrose Hill. I discovered that there is a calisthenics park in Primrose Hill here in London, and so I've been stopping by there while walking Lola on a pretty regular basis, and just hammering out some pull-ups and dips and some body weight stuff. And I think that that's really going to add up. And then the final thing is just like food wise, that I definitely struggle with Uber Eats and Deliveroo in London, because there's just such a paradox of choice that it's so difficult to actually pick things. In Brighton, it was really helpful where there was one or two burger places that I liked and one or two Mexican places that I liked, and it was too easy to essentially order things that weren't necessarily healthy for me. So I'm finding that overwhelming in kind of a good way, that like I haven't been ordering out as much, which has been good for like the health and bringing like the weight down, and just feeling a bit more, I don't know, a bit more like spring in my step, I think is what I'm really looking to just like feel, at the moment. But then the other thing that I did, because London was a reset, and maybe this will actually be helpful for some of you guys that are still with me, is I also, when we came up to London, what I decided to do is, essentially, in opposition to what I'd done in Brighton, I started by saving the places that I found in London that were the most healthy. And I specifically didn't save the places that I actually might have liked more, but weren't as good for me. And so essentially in Brighton, I had all of my favorite places actually favorited in the apps, which just removed friction from me ordering things that really I shouldn't have been ordering, like Biscoff cookies. If you happen to be watching this, I ordered Biscoff cookies far too often, but I also made it too convenient to do that. And so here in London, there's like a place called ZenMaid, and then like maybe Protein Hut, or like there's a couple of those that are just like made to be healthy foods or whatever, or like restaurants. And those are the ones that I've actually favorited. And then we have a couple of default places that right next door, there's a good bowl place and a couple of things. And so just within like 8 or 9 days, me and Fran have developed already quite healthy habits. Oh yeah, last thing is also our gym provides pre-made meals with macros and everything like chosen out. And so yeah, I mean, essentially the long story short, the uptake of it all is that we have 18 months that we are likely going to be in London. And at the end of those 18 months, I fully expect to be in the best shape of my life, with probably the best relationships and the most high quality friends that I see on a regular basis around me. I'm likely going to be the wealthiest that I've ever been, and I can guarantee this is going to push ZenMaid to take things up a notch and stuff. And so yeah, I mean, overall, I'm just really excited for this and just wanted to record a quick video about it. Probably be a fun one for me personally to reflect on in the future and to see how it all goes. But yeah, for those of you that are listening to this to keep up with me on a bit more of a personal level, I thought I'd just drop this in. So thanks so much for listening. Drop me a message, wherever you know me. If you're listening to this, you probably got me on WhatsApp, so shoot me a message if you got any thoughts, feedback, whatever. Jesse, I know you're probably going to tell me something about going somewhere warmer, and why do I put myself through this? I don't know. I get it, man. I get it.